Hello, we're going to look at this new Right 20 marker. So it's underclass, one of the key terms, but underclass are responsible for a rise in crime. Discuss why some sociologists hold this view. So it's a 20 marker. First thing I'm going to do is note that the underclass are a distinguishable group. The underclass are a distinguishable group with deviant subcultural values. So the underclass are a distinguishable group with deviant subcultural values. Paragraph 1. Murray argues that the underclass live outside society and have deviant values and a counterculture. Murray argued the underclass live outside society and have deviant values and a counterculture. Marriage is separate from childbearing. Acquiring money is separate from work because they claim from the welfare state. And men prove their masculinity through violence. The underclass have been created by an overgenerous welfare state. The underclass have been created by an overgenerous welfare state and a rise in lone parent families headed by women. 90% of lone parent families are headed by women. This shows, that's my knowledge, I'm just going to stick Murray in there. This shows the underclass are responsible for a rise in crime. This shows the underclass are responsible for a rise in crime in the 1980s. This shows the underclass are responsible for a rise in crime in the 1980s as an overgenerous welfare state, as an overgenerous welfare state, and single parent families have not enabled adequate socialization of children. The underclass are responsible for a rise in crime in the 1980s as both an overgenerous welfare state and rise in single parent families have not enabled an adequate socialization of children, leading to an increase in both crime and deviance. It's an overgenerous welfare state and single parent families have not enabled adequate socialization of children. They've been taught they can acquire money without working, leading to both an increase in crime and deviance means both an increase in both material crime and deviance. So, say that again. So, this shows the underclass are responsible for a rise in crime in the 1980s as an overgenerous welfare state and a rise in single parents have not enabled an adequate socialisation. They've been taught they can acquire money without working, leading to an increase in both material crime and deviance. That's paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 is Jock Young. So the underclass are responsible for a rise in violent crime. The underclass are responsible for a rising violent crime because they're subject to meta humiliation. Young argued the underclass experience meta humiliation from in-your-face capitalism. The underclass is subject to meta humiliation from in-your-face capitalism. It is the humiliation of poverty. It is the humiliation of poverty. So it is the stigma and humiliation of poverty. Whilst at the same time being exposed to excessive, in-your-face capitalism or wealth. It's the stigma and humiliation of poverty at the same time being exposed to excessive or in-your-face capitalism or wealth. It causes the underclass to commit more extreme, more violent and extreme, excessive acts of crime. So it's meta humiliation is basically when you're subject to in-your-face capitalism, so excessive, obscene wealth, whilst at the same time experiencing the humiliation and stigma of poverty. So it's very short, it's only him. This shows the underclass are responsible for a rise in violent crime. So being very specific about the different crimes. They're responsible for a rise in violent crime due to blocked opportunities, causing extreme poverty. So it's caused because they've got blocked opportunities causing extreme poverty, whilst also being exposed to excessive wealth. The cause of it is the blocked opportunities causing extreme poverty, whilst being exposed to excessive wealth. It leads this group to innovate with violent acts. It leads this group to innovate with excessively violent acts. Excessively violent acts. He's not trying to justify it. He wasn't trying to justify it. He's trying to kind of gain understanding about why someone would commit a really violent act with no material, real motive to it. Third one. The underclass commit, that's a question, the underclass are responsible for a rise in crime due to a lack of informal social control. They commit more crime because there's a lack of informal social control from communities and parents. So, Farrington and West argue there is a correlation between poor parenting and offending. Farrington and West note there's a correlation between poor parenting and offending. Such families offer inadequate socialization of children or socialization and the necessary informal social control to keep boys conformist. Inadequate socialization and the necessary informal social control to keep boys conformist. Dennis and Erdos argue the increasing number of absent fathers and decline in marriage undermines the community's ability to control deviant young males. So I decided to put Farrington and West and Dennis and Erdos in another paragraph so I could get basically a little bit more AO2 for this 20 marker. So this shows the underclass are responsible for a rise in crime. The underclass are responsible for a rise in crime as absent fathers can't impose informal sanctions. As absent fathers can't impose informal sanctions, so don't prevent deviant acts spiralling into serious crime. Absent fathers can't impose informal sanctions, so they don't prevent deviant acts spiralling into more serious crime. And therefore, crime rises in areas. So, and therefore, crime rises in working class areas with high rates of members of the underclass. So basically, you can't prevent a tipping point or a spiral there. Don't do any AO3, so no however. 3 paragraphs, Murray in paragraph 1, Young in paragraph 2, and then 2 in paragraph 3. It's really, really narrow underclass as a 20. It has come up onto the old spec before, but it's very narrow and very difficult because it's so narrow. As always, any questions, do let me know. Thank you.